Happy Halloween! Kyle Katarn here,
And Bendu the Gray.
returning with another community Q&A.
Yeah.
Decided to roll with some Halloween costumes this time, just because why not?
Yeah, right. It's gonna be super fun, festive.
So we got a couple good questions this time around. We're going to dive straight into them. Sand asks, what's your favorite song from the Star Wars movie soundtracks? That's a good question.
I mean, Duel of the Fates is always like a really easy,
Yeah,
great.
Duel of the
through
Fates
chorus.
it gets me stoked every time I listen to that
it's
song.
it's a great pump up, like before a workout or it's like a really hard Monday and you can't get out of bed. Just like turn that one on.
I think that's actually one of the tracks that I can't really listen to while I'm driving because I tend to start driving too fast and get all just like amped up.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
Duel of the Fates is cool. I don't know if I would have picked Duel of the Fates though. I think I would go with Battle of the Heroes.
That's true.
The Anakin Obi-Wan duel.
Very heroic. It was very heroic.
Because it had like the vocal element that Duel of the Fates had, which is awesome. And then it combined it with like the orchestra part. It was like sounded like a fucking battle.
I will say that Ray's theme is my next like really good runner up.
Yeah.
Like that one's a really solid.
Out of the sequel era stuff, I think Ray's theme. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think actually Ray's theme was probably like the only memorable piece of music from The Force Awakens.
Oh,
Ray's
you
theme,
mean like musically?
yeah, watching.
Yeah, for sure.
When I left The Force Awakens, the only theme that if you were like hum this theme, the only one that I could probably remember exactly was Ray's theme.
Yeah, for sure. Hope I say this correctly. Delavan Seek asks, what's your earliest Star Wars memory?
Earliest Star Wars memory. Well, I would say like going to see Star Wars for the first time when I was like a year old with my dad in the theater, but I don't remember it, so it doesn't count as my earliest memory. I was there, but I have no recollection. When I was about 11 or 12, the special editions happened and they re-released them in the theaters.
VHS one? Oh no, for the
when they re-released the special effects and they re-released them in the theaters. And I got to see them all on the big screen. That was awesome. Really enjoyed that. It's probably my earliest time. And then I went home, drew a bunch of Star Wars pictures, drew a bunch of pictures of Darth Vader and Stormtroopers and things like that. Yeah, that's how it all started, really.
Yeah, it definitely had like the quickest way I could get a lightsaber toy. Like that was definitely one of the first things that needed to happen. Earliest memory, however, though, was probably getting the VHS box set from my grandparents on like some sort of. It was at least like my 6th or 7th birthday or something, and just I remember rewatching like all 3 of the original trilogy while playing with Legos and just like always having that in the background and always having like Yoda's words go around, or like I'll go outside and like have that stick or that lightsaber and just like immediately be teleported anywhere else. Or and then like I think my first like real solid birthday theme was definitely Star Wars. And it was right before, so like episode 1 hadn't come out like at all. Like the concept for it had. But yeah, it was like at a round table pizza party, and Darth Vader showed up at my birthday, and that was like the most metal thing. And
being a kid and seeing like any of the costumed Star Wars stuff was always amazing. I got to see. I think I got a couple stormtroopers at the shopping mall when I was a little kid. It blew my mind. It's like, they're real. I knew they were real.
Yeah. my first 2 toys were definitely Luke's land speeder that Hasbro made, and then the Dark Side of the Empire, the like bounty hunter Chewbacca.
Hell yeah. The first Star Wars toy I ever owned was given to me when I was a little kid, and it was the 90s variant of dolls, like 12-inch dolls, and they had the Darth Vader one, and like his gloves could come off, his helmet could come off, the whole jumpsuit.
I remember that one. Yeah.
It's the same series as this Jar Jar one right here.
Yeah.
It was the Darth Vader one of these that I had. That's right. Remember the Darth Maul?
That one was so amazing. That was the first one where you were able to like swap out the different lightsabers and like give it different variabilities and such. Yeah, no, it was good.
Michael Jasniewski says, would you like to see some Darksaber action in The Mandalorian? Like a flashback to some Mando history. I think that would be cool. Maybe not necessarily a flashback. Like I'm sure they are going to establish it. But I would assume that they were going to get that as dialogue which says characters like, yeah, well, everybody knows the myth of blah 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 blah. That's going to establish it for the audience.
Yeah,
you know?
because this is also again supposed to take place after Return of the Jedi, so it could be something. Oh, and at the end of Star Wars Rebels, Sabine is the last person to have been seen with it, right? Or does she hand it over?
She hands
I
it
don't
over.
remember.
She hands it over.
That's right.
To the new.
So the Darksaber could very well be like an Excalibur sort of like heavy story plot to the Mandalorian show.
It's true. It could drive the whole show. But yeah, I mean, I am assuming that Bo-Katan is going to be in the Mandalorian and that she will have the Darksaber because that's where things were when we left off. And if this is shortly after Return of the Jedi, then it's only been a few years. So I have to assume that she hasn't died of old age or anything extreme, you know.
No, not yet.
I would like to see the Darksaber. I think it's awesome. Eric from Blind Wave hates the Darksaber, and that amuses me too. So I hope this shows up just so I can watch him get pissed in his reaction.
Good.
But to answer the question, yes, I think we will see the Darksaber. Whether we get flashbacks or not, you know, up until The Last Jedi, flashbacks kind of had not been done in Star Wars. The beginning of Rogue One starts off there. It's not a flashback because that's where the story begins, and then it goes forward in time.
It wasn't someone looking back. Yeah.
Yeah. But now that it's been introduced in that, it's an official part of the storytelling format of Star Wars. So who knows?
All right. Lord of Shadows asks, what kind of role do you think Luke Skywalker will play in Episode 9?
I mean, he's got to be a Force ghost, right? He's got to be because he did. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
He did.
If he was involved with filming.
Yes.
He was. Okay.
He was straight up on the casting announcement. They're not even trying to hide that as a surprise.
So yeah, then he'll totally
which
be a
leads me
ghost.
to believe that there are other actors who they are trying to keep surprised. You know, like maybe Hayden Christensen or Ian McDiarmid.
Right. Just kind of hint those little ghosts around, try to either turn Kylo around or just, I don't know, maybe give Rey more of the spiritual teaching and like, no, go get it, girl. You have to like break this shit.
I think the reference point that you should look for what Luke is going to be like in Episode 9 is Obi-Wan in Episode 6.
Yeah.
He shows up in Dagobah, kind of like drops some truth bombs on Luke. Isn't really involved in the plot so much, but definitely like
more of a passive role for sure.
No, I think his role is going to have a lot to do with Rey's development as a character and not really much to do with the galactic turn of events. Crazy Tornado asks, what do you think about the fact that the new Star Wars series The Mandalorian isn't animated? Does that mean that this won't be for children, and do you think they took a good period of time between the 6-7 movies?
Would you say...
Yes to all of the above.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I would recommend Firefly to children. I mean, well, I mean...
No, I don't know that you're... I'm not letting you take care of my children. Jesus Christ. That show's not that child-friendly.
I view Mandalorian as kind of be on that level.
Mandalorian will not be family friendly in the same way that Rebels and Clone Wars and Resistance are. No, it will not be. It's going to be hopefully a little more adult, both in thematic elements and like being a little gritty and be a little more violent. It'd be cool.
I mean, there definitely were certain parts of Rebels that were pretty dark. Like Thrawn had some amazing moments, for sure. But yeah, no, Mandalorian show, it's gonna be a little more on the heavy action side.
As for the time period, that's probably the best possible outcome that I could have gotten. That's the period of time that I'm the most interested about, is between the original and sequel trilogies. It's like the sequel era, I'm still kind of getting used to it, and I'm not really sold on whether or not it's awesome yet. The original trilogy is fucking amazing, and the transition into both of them, you would assume, is going to be loaded with amazing nuggets of the original trilogy here and there.
Which is why I really
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, which is why I really like that with The Mandalorian. It's going to be from a completely different perspective. It's from the Mandalorian perspective, from the Outer Rim.
The fact that it's not animated, I really like. It's about time we got a live-action Star Wars TV show, and I think this sets an awesome precedent for more series that we might get in the future if it does well.
It's going to give cosplayers a lot of stuff to do, so I expect the 501st to be, jumping up and down with all sorts of concept art and ideas of more creations for them to make.
Disney is definitely counting on this to renew interest in the series and the whole franchise. Like, they're putting all their eggs in this Mandalorian basket right now.
Yeah, that and
they're hoping that this will be like the cure to the backlash. That like, okay, people that hated the sequel trilogy movies, that hated the animated series, basically everything in the Disney era, people hate it. They're like, hopefully we can bridge the gap and get them on board the Mandalorian. That's Disney's play here, and that's why they're throwing $100 million fucking dollars at the show. You know, they're pulling out all the stops. They got Bryce Dallas Howard in there.
Dude, the picture that you posted of Lucas, Farvo, and
Filoni.
Filoni, all three of them together was, yeah, that's the triad right
so
there.
People are all talking about how excited they are that Dave Filoni finally gets to direct a live action piece of Star Wars. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited too. I think that's awesome. But be careful talking about how it's like this is finally he's getting his chance and this is like, you know, such a great thing, because that kind of delegitimizes the importance of his work in animation, which is a completely valid form of storytelling. And just because he hasn't directed live action does not make him a lesser director. He is already well versed and doing amazing things in the world of animation. And if he's doing live action, it's because he's choosing to, not because he's finally good enough. Man's been a boss for a while now. I mean, the essence of what makes Dave Filoni so fucking awesome is just straight up his storytelling.
Yeah,
really.
He is a storyteller. Exactly.
And whether it's live action or animated, that's really gonna play through and make the Mandalorian really good. Especially that pilot episode, 'cause that's the one that he's directing. It's gonna start out well.
It's gonna be solid though.
Obi-Wan asks, on the original Battlefront II, who is your favorite hero/villain to play as on Assault? Favorite map? So we're talking OG 2005 Battlefront II here. Man, I really liked the Mustafar map.
Well, the Mos Eisley map, that was where you were able to take all the heroes and all the villains and just throw them at each other.
That was pretty dope.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Darth Maul, again, for villains, was just his speed and his fly, like, everything was just so lethal and incredible about him.
Maul was dope.
So much fun with him.
I was a Grievous guy. Always a Grievous guy.
Hero-wise, I'm really torn between Aayla Secura because she had the dual-wielding lightsabers, and just her speed was also incredible. Aayla was kind of the counter character for Grievous. But Anakin was really fun too.
I played Anakin a lot.
Yeah.
Anakin on Mustafar is just like a great fucking time.
As its level itself, yeah.
One thing the Battlefront 2 did that I love, the new ones don't do. I mean, there's so many things, but this one, you could choose any era you wanted on any planet. So I would always do original trilogy shootouts, Stormtroopers versus Rebels on Mustafar.
Yeah.
And the part where you in the spawn area, if you're on the Imperial side, if you shoot the bridge controls, the bridges just fall down into the lava, and then you cut off like
that's right.
50% of the access to the map.
That's right.
Changes the strategy. God, yeah. So no, Mustafar was definitely my favorite map. But Renvar, I think that was Battlefront 1 though. I don't think, yeah.
You know, Dooku, I have to give Dooku his money too, because like he was really fun because they gave him the one-handed Force lightning, but he also had his curved lightsaber.
Dooku's a goddamn.
So like, I didn't really like the old Palpatine. The new Palpatine in Battlefront 2 is much more of just like, ha ha ha, unlimited power, just so OG. But like, yeah, no, Dooku was fun because you could just run, electrocute, or slash if you had to, and it was great. But still, Darth Maul and Anakin or Aayla, depending on the day.
Yeah, and for me, definitely Grievous and probably the Obi-Wan. Although Mace Windu, I played a lot of Mace Windu too. Mace Windu's pretty dope. And then Mustafar for map.
Yeah, his health is incredible. He was a tank. All right, Joseph Flanagan asks, do you think J.J. Abrams ever planned answers to the questions he raised in Force Awakens, or were they just empty mystery boxes like most of his narratives? So reading that immediately makes me think of the lightsaber in a box. Which, yeah, no. I don't,
a great question for another time.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get those lost answers.
That's been such a debate. Such a discussion, whether or not Rian Johnson just like made a decision to go against everything that JJ had laid the foundations for, or whether the whole thing is coordinated and they, you know, as you would assume, two directors in the same trilogy would do, get together and compare notes and be like, this is what I'm doing with the characters. What are you gonna do with them next?
Yeah, tell that to Kanji Club.
Tell that to Kanji Club.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think that we are gonna get some answers. I don't think that he's going to do anything crazy like reverse decisions that Johnson made. You know, like,
no.
I don't think that he's going to decide Rey's parents suddenly aren't nobodies anymore. Now they're these people. I don't think he's going to do anything like that. But some of the stuff that he laid down the foundations for, I think he's going to revisit in 9. I mean, how can he not, right?
I don't know. With the Rey's parentage thing, I'm still kind of on the side of the fence of it's more to emphasize like how irrelevant Rey's parents are. Like, let's focus on her and not
Right. The whole point is
who
that,
her parentage is. She's just force sensitive for some reason, and that's
like
she's
force,
just the
power,
next,
and
she's just the
potential
next
is
chosen
not
one.
about heritage.
Yeah.
It's not about lineage
Mhm.
so much as it is about just like who you are as an individual.
Exactly.
And so the parents don't matter.
Mhm.
Which is countering the narrative of Star Wars as we know it, where it's like the Skywalker line are the most powerful Jedis. But that could also just be who these people are, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, they're all just, it's just a family of strong individuals. They could work both ways.
Yeah.
Robin7701 asks, what's your favorite species? Mine are the Nautilin. They rock. Yeah, the Nautilin are pretty badass. If I had to go with my favorite species of all time,
I haven't thought about that in a long time.
maybe the Duros. I do like the Duros. I like how he's such a classic traditional egghead alien.
That's true.
He's like a UFO alien, basically.
Yeah, that's true. And I kind of hate to say that mine's a little more humanoid. Like, I really like how the Guardians, Quinlan Voss's race, how they're able to like,
With
how
the
some
yellow
of them,
line.
yeah, and how some of them are able to touch objects and immediately like see the history of that object or anything that's like
That's pretty
affiliated
cool.
to it. Like, yeah, there's just like cool little like tweaks with that. The Night Sisters are always badass though.
Night Sisters are dope. Definitely.
The
I
Night
think,
Sisters are dope.
I think I would probably either go with the Duros or a Rhodian. But for sure, one of the classic aliens, one of the original trilogy aliens, because I think that's when the creature design was like the best. The prequel added a lot of amazing things, like the Nautilin, for example, and like all that stuff. But like Twi'leks, Rhodians, Duros, Sulistans,
Plo Koon's race is really cool.
all of the original ones are just like, there's something about their look that
Yeah.
is timeless. Like the fact that we still have Rhodians in movies, which is essentially a big goofy rubber fucking face, and we're still buying it. We've been
It's
buying
true.
it
It's
since
like kinda
'77, and we're
flat,
like, oh
yeah.
yeah, no, that's totally a creature. Like they did something right.
Yeah. To Rocking Hemingway, who asks, what kind of role do you see Lando having in Episode 9? I see his name maybe being mentioned. That's about it.
I mean, he's gonna be there. Billy D's gonna be there. I'm sure he's gonna be
He's
there. Yeah.
casted.
He was on the casting announcement. We know
I
he's
don't
in the
know.
movie.
I don't know. Maybe a voice, or he could be like some other general somewhere. Maybe
I
not
think-
general, but like have his own squad of soldiers. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's definitely gonna have. I don't think he's gonna be like a solo act just out in the galaxy. He's probably made a name for himself, and he's got like an organization, people under him, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because he helped destroy the second Death Star. Yeah,
But I don't
he
think
got a
that
fancier
he's
cape.
going to be in a military organization of any kind.
No.
He's going to be running like a big shipping organization, like a shipping company or something. But I'm
think
I'm
Luke will have-
definitely sure that he is the Outer Rim allies that they were referring to at the end of it.
That could be cool.
That's
I would-
absolutely he's the ally.
I
that
totally
we're talking
think
about.
that Luke is gonna have a bigger influence than Lando.
I think it's probably we're going to get like one Lando scene early on, and then we're supposed to forget about him. And then when the big battle's finally going sideways, he shows up at the end, Ride of the Rohirrim style, and bails him out.
And a
That's
giant,
what I think it's
and
gonna-
a giant starfighter. And, yeah.
Well, I think he's just gonna have a huge fleet of like every fan service starship you can imagine. Like suddenly, like like Finn and Rey and Chewie are all
That's
cornered
true.
on the planet,
That's true.
and like Hux is
Yeah.
about to win, and like the battle's going badly, and then suddenly out of hyperspace comes like a fucking N1 starfighter and like a Z95 headhunter and a bunch of
Yeah,
Mon
for
Calamari bullshit, and Lando's like, "Hey boys, how's it going? We got
Yeah.
some Colt 45." But yeah. It's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome. That's the kind of role that I hope he has. If I'm being realistic, the dude is like he's getting back into shape, but he's not. He's pretty old. I don't think he's gonna be doing backflips or anything crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that's why I was thinking
gonna
maybe
be
more of a voice.
a lot of
voice
talking,
role.
a lot of sitting, a lot of poignant looks. Maybe some piloting.
Definitely some like smoldering winks.
He's gonna have some emotes and some flirty moments, but I don't think we're gonna even see this man walk on a brisk pace. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. We'll see. That's it for the community Q&A this month. Thanks for watching, everybody. Got some awesome questions. Keep sending them to us. We'll keep responding. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the channel for more content, reactions, and reviews.
And always subscribe.
Always subscribe. Leave us a comment if you've got a question or something to say. And as always,
May the force be with you.